beautiful bees. We be rising every day. I brought you into the great outdoors. Got the river behind us, got the sun. It's beautiful. And I wanted to talk about how I save tons of money. And that allows me to have more time and freedom, which is what I value most. So I'm going to share with you some tips that have helped me save tons and tons of money. The first one being focusing on what is it that I actually need versus want. And when you focus on that, you can focus on, okay, what is it that you need? You need basic necessities, food, shelter, water. And for me, everything additional to that is just a bonus. But I used to spend tons and tons of money on clothes, used to be a huge consumer, buying lots of fast food, going to tons of restaurants all the time. And that was a huge expense. So now I bring my own meals, I prepare my own meals, and I focus on foods that bring me health. Because a lot of the fast food chains, they're processed foods, they contain a lot of oil, and it's not the best for my health. So when I focus on foods that my body needs, that also eliminates a lot of food that wasn't serving me, a lot of junk food and pop drinks. I drink clean water, spring water, and that does the body good. Next, you might hear some cracking there's some ice this morning on the river. I'm not sure if you guys can see it back there. But the next thing is when you focus on want versus need, that brought me into a minimalist lifestyle, which is living in a small house, and it's about 600 square feet. And what that does is it only allows me few possessions. And if we look at Buddha always said, suffering or desires, attachments lead to suffering. And for me, I can see how that's true, because the more stuff I have, the more I have to worry about, and that leads to more stress. So less is more for me. And when you have a small house, it's less bills, less to heat. So, and less stuff you need. You can only put so much stuff in that house. So I can save a lot of money that way. And I also bike everywhere. So that saves me looking after a vehicle. I used to have 2 vehicles. And for my situation, it just was not necessary. For you, it might be different. But I try to bike everywhere, which is good for my health and also good for the environment, right? But also it's less bills to maintain a car so much. Cars can be very expensive. And gas as well, right? So I just use my own fuel to bike everywhere. And it's just a lot healthier for me. The next thing is I like to look at the reduce, reuse, recycle. I don't always have to buy new. I can look at recycling, and I do that with the phone I have. I've had this phone for 10 years, and I don't have a cell phone plan. So I have an app which has free calls and texts. And I save tons of money that way. And as long as I have Wi-Fi, I get free calls and texts. So that's awesome. Saving me tons and tons of money, right? Cell phone bills can be very expensive. So there's some apps that you can download that gives you free calls and text messaging as long as you have Wi-Fi. And for me, that works out great. Now again, this depends on your situation, but I save tons and tons of money that way. The next way that I save money, again, you don't always have to buy new, so you can look at reusing, recycling. I tend to bring my own dishes, and prepare my own meals. So it's good for the environment that way, because if you go to a lot of restaurants and eat out a lot, even if you go to restaurants, it's still good to bring your own Tupperware containers if you got leftovers, because that reduces plastic. And the next thing I would say is look at what you can do to exchange value with someone else. Now, a good example of this is my partner, who's a carpenter. Now, he uses his skills so he can do something for someone, build something for someone, and in exchange they will give us something. And that's back to like bartering days, but it can be super helpful and beneficial. For instance, he can build something for someone. Exchange for that, we might get firewood. Another example is just doing things yourself, whether that's knitting or foraging for food in your local area. There might be some fruit trees, some local herbs. I got like pumpkins out here, apple trees, and you can save money that way by just eating local and in your environment, building a garden, or planting some fruit trees. That can save you lots of money as well. And being more self-reliant, self-sustainable can save you lots of money. The next thing that I would say is, so we got doing things for yourself, that could be even cutting your own hair. I've done it. You can save money that way too. Doing things yourself, making your own clothes. There's so many things you can do to save money, which will give you more time and freedom in the end. And it's always important to look at what you do have, having gratitude. I like to start my day with focusing on what is it that I do have in my life that's working for me. When we focus on gratitude, it keeps perspective because we stop comparing ourselves with other people, always wanting more. When we focus on what we have in our lives, we realize we're doing so much better than most people on this planet. So it's always good to keep perspective and have gratitude. When we do that, we'll all be rising.